Hello. Hey there. Got ourselves another November stream. 5 sides this time. After the windmill yesterday, we add one more side. And yeah. See if everything is working out as it should. Are people there? Can people hear me? On my end, it seems fine. Hello, hello. Hello. Maybe you guys can give me a thumbs up in the chat just so I know that everything is fine. It's all good? Nice. Okay. I gotta be honest, for this one I wasn't really sure what to do in terms of 5-sided. There were a bunch of like architecture or geometry ideas that didn't really interest me that much. I'd rather do something more organic today. So let's just open up a browser. Oh yeah, I also added some software to show the key presses and stuff, and that should work. I hope that helps. But yeah, in terms of 5 sides, I was thinking of doing a starfish. It's relatively simple, something like this. But can you see our messages in the chat? Yes, I can. I see the thumbs up, I see the highs. Hello everyone. Thanks for hanging out. Yeah, if you have a question, just put it in the chat and I will pick it up at some point. I'm not constantly looking at the chat because I also got stuff to get done, but yes, if I miss something, just repeat it. But yeah, Starfish is not the most intricate thing to create in geometry nodes. I think it's still kind of fun if you just add a bunch of detail here and there. They come in lots of different shapes and sizes with interesting patterns and spikes and everything. But I wanted to go a step further and do something that I have no idea. Please shout out. Yes, I see you. Please don't spam in the chat. What are you making now? A starfish. But I was thinking of animating it, making a little bit of a run cycle, a little bit of an animation, and having like a fake kind of geometry nodes rig kind of a thing. I have no idea if that's actually going to work out properly. It's much more experimental than what I had yesterday, because just having some architectural thing is relatively easy to do with geometry nodes because it's relatively straightforward with just adding primitives here and there, compared to doing something more organic or freeform procedurally. So we'll see how that works out, especially if it's supposed to be animated. But yeah, just bear with me. I wanted to try this out. I have no idea if it's going to work, but we'll see. Just having a basic shape should be relatively simple and easy to do. So we'll just start with that. Good. Hey everyone. I will just, not add an object. I already have an object, which is empty. Just add a geometry nodes modifier. And I saw somebody pointing out that deleting the group input node is kind of the new meta of deleting the cube primitive that you have at the beginning of starting up Blender, which is kind of true for November. But in theory, there should already be a star primitive. There you go. Just put in 5 points, and we're done. We got a star. It's a little bit oddly rotated for some reason. I kind of want to... if I want to later on animate it, it would be nice to have it in a specific orientation. So I am going for having 2 legs, a head, and 2 arms, kind of. But first it's just going to be a symmetrical shape. But I'm pretty much going for the same workflow as with the pizza prompt for the first stream that I did. Which is filling the curve and then doing a kind of a remesh operation by distributing points, turning those points into a volume like this, and then turning the volume into a mesh. At some point there's going to be a more straightforward way for remeshing with nodes, obviously, but right now this is the best way that I know to do it. Just increase the density of the points. Oh. And then decrease the radius a bit. The shape still needs to make sense later on, but for now it's fine. Just a lot of points. But yeah, first I also want to rotate the star. I'm actually not exactly sure why. It's just starting in the along the x-axis, I guess. Yeah, okay. So it's locked there. Then we can just rotate it by 90 degrees. Transform. I want the z-axis -90. No, +90. And that's already looking decent. Now, a little bit more over shape control. Yeah, thanks for taking care of the spam. To make the animations, you will do retopology, right? No. No retopology, no nothing, only nodes. There's only ever nodes in Nodevember. Yeah, so there's not going to be any tweaks in edit mode or sculpt mode or even an armature for that matter. It's just going to be nodes. I might take the freedom to do some manual keyframe animation, probably. But that should be about it. Maybe empties that are controlling the nodes. Okay. Yeah, the resolution for the remesh can then be controlled here. And there's probably going to be another smoothing step in the end like I did for the pizza, because it does get kind of jagged with the remeshing. Okay. Now, I think, yeah, first thing is going to be just creating some masks. And for that, I'll do the same thing that I did in the previous streams as well, just setting up a very basic viewer setup to get an output of the field masks that I can create. And for that, I need to create a viewer shader that reads out an attribute, which I call viewer. And then that shader needs to be applied to the geometry. Material. I should name it viewer. Like this. And yeah, then it's applied, and I can create the attribute. So I make the output, call it viewer, and then also assign it to the viewer attribute in the node modifier. There we go. And now it should work. It's a little bit of a hassle to do. I could also just have this as the base setup, but I kind of like just redoing some stuff to just engrave it in my brain. In the future, this is not going to be necessary because there's going to be the field preview in the viewport. Kind of like this. Right now, this is only affecting the spreadsheet, but in the future, this will also be displayed in the viewport. But for now, we need to do this. And it works. Okay, let's see. So after the remeshing, I want to create some masks, and those are later on going to be the weights as well, I guess. First mask that I'm going to do is just going to be a mask that goes from 0 to 1 along these arms. So it starts out here and goes all the way up there on every single one of the arms. And for that, I can just use the radii that are here. Just going to expose them as values. So this is 0.54. It can be changed later on anyways, but if I just use the same values, then the Starfish proportions are also going to be procedural, and the rest is going to work still. And then I use the position and do a little bit of vector math. Yes. Oh yeah, and then the important thing is that right now the Starfish is in its resting position, or like its T-pose. And to have these masks still be valid later on, I need to capture the position as it is right now. Because I want to be able to use this position even when the Starfish is transformed. Oh, was there more spam? Okay. Not sure what's going on here in my dashboard, but on YouTube it looks fine, on Twitch as well. Why do the two viewer nodes have different colors? Not sure what you mean. There's only one viewer node. If you mean this and this is a completely different node. This is a group output, and this is just a temporary viewer node that doesn't actually replace what geometry is put out by the object. Starfish needs some suckers at the bottom. Yes, there's going to be some detail, but the detail I don't really worry about that much. I think that's going to be relatively simple. What I do worry about is the deformations and animations and that stuff. Which screencast add-on are you using for the mouse showing? That's not an add-on, it's a standalone open source software that I found on GitLab. It's called Screen Key. So it's also showing for me. It's not just an OBS thing or so. Okay, I'm losing the thread a little bit. I was explaining before why I have to capture the position, so I'm going to do that now. Yeah, the reason, just to reiterate that, was to be able to have this position as it is in the T-pose later on, even when it's deformed, which is relatively important. So, when I have that position now, I can actually, I shouldn't have removed that one. Do the vector math with that captured position. And the vector math that I need for that is going to be something like this, something like a length, because that's 0 at the center and then goes outwards, which is what I need for the full length along the arms. But I don't really care about the length into the Z dimension. So before this length iteration, operation, I multiply by 1, 1, 0 to eliminate the Z component. And then it's actually 0 at the center. Before Before it was a little bit more than 0 because this has a distance along the Z component. And then I can use a map range to get this into the correct range. And for that I can use the inner and outer radius of the star. And there you go. There is a little bit of a discrepancy, which is due to the radius of the points that the remesh is working on. As you can see, if I just decrease this, then it gets more accurate. So what I can do is just basically also expose the radius of the remesh, which is just the thickness of the star basically, as a new input value, 0.22. And then connect this here and also add it to both of these values because it is additive in both cases. So like this. And I should also give these some names. So this is the thickness. This is the inner radius. And this is the outer radius. Or you can just leave these hanging around. There we go, that's more accurate. Oh, crap. So now we already have a mask that goes from the center towards the edge of the arms that we can use later on. The viewer node is yellow color on the right node tree. Oh, here. That's because this is a node from an add-on. It's the shader node actually. I mean, these are completely different systems. This is the geometry nodes system, and this is the shader node system. So they're completely separate. And actually we don't need this because we're only gonna do geometry nodes. But yeah, that did have a different color, you're correct. But it shouldn't be important. Did you say to Demeter to rig snow? Yes, I mentioned it to him. I think he's going to do it at some point, but it's going to take a bit. Do starfish have eyes? I'm not an expert on starfish anatomy, I have to admit that. But what I was going for was a little bit more of a cartoony kind of a look. I mean, we'll see how it works out, I guess. But I was going for something more stylized, and wanted to do something fun with the animation. But we'll see. I'm not an animator, so I don't know how well that would work. And I'm also not a rigger, so we'll see. Okay, so this is good. Then I do want to differentiate between legs, arms, and head. So I will just make masks for those. I guess something to do would just be to I guess just having one mask per either arms, legs, and head would be nice. 1 second. Okay. Patrick Star has eyes, yes. Correct. He's the inspiration. Okay, gonna need more vector math. It's the wrong node. It happens way too many times. Actually, I gotta think for a second. So yes, what I'll definitely need is going to be the angle. So I will separate the components of this position. And then just grab the viewer output here. I will add a math node and set it to arctan2, which is going to give me the angle if I plug in x and y. Like this. And then let's just map range it. So this is a full circle of 2 pi, and it goes from negative pi to positive pi, which is just how the operation works. So we can just map it from that to a range that is easier to work with, like this. And then add some more math nodes to actually get the masks that we need. I'll just multiply it with 5, or actually, same thing, just put in 5 here instead of 1. And then do this. Kind of works. So fraction is then just going to be a parameter that's orthogonal to the one that we already created before, which is going to be nice. If I just combine this to a new vector, it's going to give us some form of UV coordinates that are going to be useful later on, I think, like this. I'll just keep that around. I don't know what we are going to need this later on for, but we'll see. And then snap. Maybe. I don't think really having a hard edge for something organic is ever going to be useful. So I think I should rather just focus on smoother masks. In the future, when we have an attribute smooth node, it's going to be nice to just smooth everything after the fact. But for now, we need to just keep the maps smooth from the beginning. And for that, how am I going to do it? I think just doing it with the regular math approach is going to be fine. So if I, instead of fraction, just have subtract. Let's take a look at this. Yeah, the issues here doesn't really work. Because this is exactly where the arctan wraps around. Let's just take a look at another one. So 5. And then absolute. And then maybe just a map range. Kind of like this. And then the different inputs will give us the different limbs. Oh wait, no, this is not quite accurate. This is better. And then I'll just do it like that. I'll just very simply get one of these masks for each limb. That's gonna be totally fine. So 2.5 is the head. Also just give those some frames. And then there's gonna be the arms. Actually, I can just make a very visual display of what's going on by just showing it shape-wise in the tree. So this is going to be the left arm from what I'm looking at. That's 1.5 and that's 3.5. Okay, let's see if what I did was correct. That looks fine. Actually though, let's see. I think this kind of a mask would be more accurate. So the gradient is only happening here, and it's a smoother interpolation. Geez, there's a lot of spam going on. Thanks, Falk, for hanging out and taking care of it. Do you think it would be possible to have a custom function node for shader nodes? I'm not 100% certain on the technical aspects. The thing is, the shader nodes have to work with both. I mean, in theory, it is possible, sure. I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon. And as far as I know, there are add-ons that can do this kind of thing with node groups that they can build automatically. So if you really want that kind of stuff, you can watch that stuff. What are you doing? I'm making a starfish with 5 sides. Sorry. Then the legs, same thing. But for those, I will probably need to use something else here. Because, as I mentioned earlier, or does it really matter? I think it does. The thing is, I'm trying to think ahead a little bit. I think later on I will need to actually expand this a little bit to go more like this. So the mask is even taking a little bit of an influence on the neighboring limb. But I probably want to be able to control that later on. And for that to work, for the legs, I will need to actually use a different coordinate here. And the easiest way to do that is just duplicate this stuff. And before I do this here, I just rotate. Just rotate it by 90 degrees or so. Wait, maybe not 90. Maybe full rotation divided by 5 times 2. Let's see. I just gotta select the correct one. There we go. And for this, I think here I'm just gonna make a node group. Because I don't want to later on have to tweak each of these manually, and I also don't want to connect an input value to all of these because it's a little bit unnecessary noise. So instead I'm just going to use this same node group a bunch of times. And then I can just change the value inside and it's going to affect all of them. Okay, just gotta rename these to legs. Okay. I'll get a couple of masks. Yeah, the nice thing here with this system is that we can just do it very modularly. So I'm probably just gonna make this a node group. Excuse me. So this is just gonna be a node group that has these masks as outputs. So one thing I do want to output for sure is the position before any deformation. It's going to be my coordinates. Then where was it? Oh yeah, was it just this? And now it's a little bit more difficult to connect things to the viewer, but I'll just output this because I think those were my UVs. Basically all just, also just coordinates, but typo. They work a little bit differently, so let's just give it another output. Now we have two types of coordinate vectors. So this is just a very generic coordinates before the deformation, and then this kind of a thing. I think it's going to be useful at some point. And then the masks. So head, arm left, arm right, leg left, leg right. Okay, I'm being very careful about actually naming stuff and making sure that I still know what's going on later. Because just to repeat this, I have no idea if this is going to work out, but we'll see. We'll just fail together. It's going to be fine. So let's just check if this was actually correct. Arm right, leg right. Yes. Okay. Good. Now we have a nice Starfish node group. Yeah, for now I keep the Starfish super simple. Let's give it some smooth shading at least, though. I will change this later on a little bit to give it more detail, but for now I just want to make sure that my idea even works at all, which I'm not super confident in yet. Oh, you can press tab here. Ah, that's nice. I didn't even know that. It's cool. Okay. Now the difficult part. Making some rigs without actually making a rig. Instead, we're only going to use nodes. Okay, I was thinking of adding some empty controllers. that we just hook up two nodes, but then they're actually controllable in the viewport, and it's just much nicer to actually do some animation. I don't think that's cheating. I think that's gonna be fine, because it's still gonna be extremely difficult to pull off. And that's the whole point. Okay. There's gonna be a lot of me just thinking and wondering why things don't work involved, I think, but we'll see. Let's just hook up this empty. Let's just call it just call it main underscore body. Let's hook up that empty with an object info node. Or actually, I know which empty it is, so oh, this is the starfish. So I can just drag and drop it inside here. And then I can just use the location, rotation, and scale. Maybe I'll ignore the scale. I don't know if I'm gonna make the rig able to actually scale stuff. I think it's gonna make things just too complicated maybe. So let's not do it for now. Right. I cannot for this use a transform node, because the transform node is only made for hard inputs. I mean, this is going to work quite nicely, as you can see. But I do want to also affect the, or basically I want to have this be affected only by like a weight map. And then I can't use the transform node. I need to use another node. So let's reset that. And that's the set position node. And then I need to use the position field. And then manipulate the point positions individually with the vector rotate node and a vector math node. I'm not sure if there are point transform nodes. Not really. But yeah, this is totally fine. Look, the location like this is still gonna work. Oh, it's not connected. There we go. And then the rotation should work like that as well. If we set this to Euler here, like this. Now we just need to make sure that it's in the right order of operations, and there we go. That looks fine. Now it's just doing the exact same thing as the transform node did, but that's gonna change because I'm going to change the effect of this node to only be affected with a weight map, which is one of the masks, which one we're going to figure out later. Oh yeah, actually, I do want this thing here to be non-clamped, so we also have negative values. This can be clamped, that's fine. And then we gotta take a quick look. Okay, so to scale the effect of this node here, it's easier to just use the offset instead of the position itself. And for that to work, we just need to make a subtraction. So we subtract the original position from wherever we want them to be, and then that's going to be the offset. And what happens is the exact same thing as before. But now it's an offset, so if we put this to 0, it's not going to do anything. And then we can use that with the scale. Just show that quickly to interpolate between. We can even overshoot like this. It doesn't really make sense, but it's possible. But for 0, it's just not going to do anything. And that is quite nice because this accepts a field input. And that means we can use one of these masks to drive the influence of the bone. So let's see, I want to map range something. Let's take the UVs. Separate X, Y, Z. I use Y. Let's look at the viewer. I'm not sure what I did before. No, X. Actually, I want to change that. Let's flip those around. Let's make this X and this Y. There we go. So this is Y. And this is X. Yep, that's nice. And this also goes in the negative, so if I connect the map range here, we can also go all the way back. And that's very nice. So with the smooth step, let me try and first invert this. And then just, yeah, let's just wing the range a little bit. I do want it to be more like this. Actually, I think rather than using smooth step, I would just control this manually with a curve. Let's use a float curve. And then I don't even need this. I can just, oh, I do. Sorry. I want to go to the negative range. So I map it from -1 to 1. Right. Oh no, -1. This is not ideal. So the issue now is that this is scaled to fit the individual limbs. But it should go from the very center, and I don't have the information of where that actually is in these coordinates. I think I'm just gonna expose these things, whatever. With the group input, I'll just expose the inner radius and the outer radius. Then I just gotta make sure that these get the correct names. Oh. And then 0.54 and 2. 0.54, 2. Ah, damn it. Let's keep it as these. 0.54, 2. Like this. And then I use this all the way over, oh, here. With a little bit of math. I feel like this is more complicated than it needed to be. Yeah. You know what? I'll make it a little bit different, not too different. I also expose the thickness because that's good to have. Let's make it 0.22. Thickness. This was the outer radius. I add the thickness. And then instead of using the UVs, because I really just shoot myself in the leg with those, I just do the same thing that I used to create them again. But instead of mapping it to a different range, I want them to start at 0. So that's perfectly fine. Coordinates. Yes, and then I use the outer range plus the thickness for a math operation to divide. Okay, this took longer than I had hoped, but now we have a very simple mask that goes from 0 to 1, from the very center to the very outermost spot. Finally, okay. And then that I use for the curve. And in the very center, I want the influence to be 100%. At the very outermost side, I want it to be 0. And then I do kind of this kind of thing, maybe. And that's going to be the influence of the empty bone. Okay, let's see if it works. Brilliant. Amazing. Okay, so we have something. That's nice. I do notice a little bit of an issue with retaining volume. I don't really know if that's something that can be fixed all that easily. I mean, one thing that's going to help is if we have less steep angles in the mask, more like this. But yeah, there's still a bunch of like shearing going on and all sorts of nasty things. But it's fine. This is a start. Only, oh god, it's almost an hour in. Jesus. It's gonna be difficult to pull off. Ah, Hans in the chat. Hey man. Maybe you should name the screencast key program. Ah. Yeah, I can add it in the description. I'm not super happy with it because it's very difficult to make it work in a way where it doesn't just cut off stuff all the time. And some shortcuts are just unreadable completely. But yeah, the thing is that the built-in screencast keys add-on does not currently work as far as I could tell when I tried it out for 3.0. Okay. Let's see. Now in theory, I could just add this same kind of controller system to each one of the tips of these limbs and call it a day. But I kind of want to do something a little bit more smart than that. One thing I could also try would be to kind of have these follow along. So they only get to a certain distance, but then sag down. That's going to be very difficult to pull off, I think. At least in a way that it looks realistic. But maybe I can try it out. Okay. Let's see. So I can use the initial coordinates to basically check against the controller to see if it's too far away. So whenever the controller moves away like this, then this point can know, okay, the controller is over there. I'm over here. In my T-pose state, I should be this distance away from the controller, so maybe I should follow along. To just have like a distance-based check for the position. I'm just throwing around ideas. I'm not sure if that's going to work, but I'm going to try that out. And for that, we can just use the length of the coordinates. And that's going to be the original length. So maybe... Okay, yeah, I'm just gonna try that out very simply. Maybe I can just use the new position after the displacement, which was this. Check the length of that. Or actually, no, that's not correct. I want to get the length of that position subtracted by the position of the controller. Because that's the new origin. I don't care about the distance to this point. I care about the distance to this point. The length of that, and then some math. Let's see, what if I divide by this, or other way around, I guess, and then scale. I'm just going to try something out right now. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Okay, and then I use yes. So I subtract the position of the controller to offset all the coordinates into the system of the controller, or at least location based. Then I scale the points by the factor of the original position divided by the original distance divided by the current distance. And then I add it back, and that's the position. Haha! This is kind of cool. Like it does, it doesn't really work perfectly, as you can see. There's a little bit of an artifact going on, but I've seen worse things. Maybe I should clamp the scale or something. But it does look kind of cool. Also, it doesn't care about rotation, but that's probably fine. Okay. This is already kind of cool. This is going in the right direction, at least. But yeah, maybe I want to clamp this factor a little bit. Or maybe not. Let's just try. Oh yeah, right there. I forgot to report the bug. Also, I didn't update the Blender version, so if there are bugs in there, they might be older. I need to on this computer get the newest update for the streams. I forget about that. But yeah, I'm forgetting which one was broken. Was it smooth min or smooth max? But anyways, I'll do the max of. Yeah, I mean a factor of 0 would be bad anyways, and that's not going to happen anyways. So what's even going to happen here? Let's just try it out. So the thing that I wanted to fix was this. Does this get any better? Oh. Smoothman. Not really. That doesn't help. Okay, let's just ignore this idea. It didn't work. That's fine. Maybe it doesn't need to be fixed. Hi, Erin. Shame on you. Report your bugs. Yes, I'm sorry. Just too many things to do at the same time right now. Okay. Let's just see how this looks when I prop up this little guy. Not great. But in theory, because this kind of works for like some smaller transformations. When I really try to do some more fancy stuff, then it completely breaks. But the idea would maybe be to have a step of transformation before that does not do this fancy stuff, and then do this on top. Because that works, kind of. So maybe I just need a second controller. What's the controller gonna be? I just call the one that I just installed main body wobble. Use it here. And then do the regular old transformation before. Then I just need to make sure that the stuff that I just set up actually works. Let's just take the scale, why not? Okay, this is... Hello? Ah, wrong controller. So this is set up. This is the head. Actually, let's just very quickly add some eyeballs, because I don't want to struggle which limb is which constantly. So let's make a sphere, just a simple icosphere, and just plop it on. Transform. Vector math. And to have a very stupid and simple array modifier, mirror modifier for this, I'm just going to put this into the translation. It's going to be a vector. And do a second transformation with that. And then I join it. Okay, where's the sphere? Where is the sphere? Why is there nothing happening? What am I missing right now? Why is there no sphere? What about a UV sphere? Is the... Oh, subdivision's 1. Maybe that's not the best default. Oh god, it's so small. Why is it so small? Okay. Interesting. Maybe that shouldn't be the case. Yeah, it is very, very small. Okay. Is it still connected correctly? It's still not showing up. What is happening? UV sphere, come to my rescue. Nope. Okay, what am I looking at currently? Output is this, and that's coming all the way from here. I am very confused. Oh, I think the, yeah, maybe the issue is just... This is the issue. Okay. Yes, I should add a selection group. So only the body should get this kind of transformation. Or actually, no, it shouldn't. I have to just join it before I create the coordinates. That's my bad. Okay, so to the body, I join the eyes. Okay. Now, finally, can we take the icosphere? We can, nice. Okay, just another transform node. Or actually, there is a radius, never mind. 0.1. So the eyes go here. Ah. Beautiful. So much character. Okay, at least now we know what's going on. It was a little bit of a tangent, but I think it's worth it. Oh god. Did I break stuff? Ah, yeah, I did. So. I should name some of these elements. This was... Yes, this was the deformation. Main deformation. And then this was the kind of a distance fix. And this, I need to make work now. Why don't you restrict the positions of the main control to particular range? I mean, I do want to be able to have the main controller actually control more broad movement. So I gotta just make it work with the second controller, I think. Yeah, this is not the kind of thing you would try to do as a beginner, I think. The windmill from yesterday would be much nicer for like beginner level, I think. But yeah, this is just because I thought, okay, maybe it could work. I don't know if it could work. I think it probably won't work, but let's just try it out. Because that's what November is all about. Okay, so gotta think for a second. So these coordinates that I'm checking against. Yes, they also have to be transformed. That's the main point. So let's do this. Take the coordinates. I rotate them with the rotation of this controller. I add the location, and I forget about the scale because that's too complicated right now. I mean, in theory, it wouldn't be that complicated, but I don't place a lot of value on being able to control the scale of the controllers right now, and the more I can just get rid of in terms of complications, I'm happy about. This is kind of working. The issue, the issue is just that now the controller is not really that easy to use because the space is different now. But yeah, that's the main idea. So we can prop up the guy and then have a little bit of movement like this. It's dancing around. And he's vertical. I just gotta think of a proper way to get this in a better space. Because ideally, the wobble would just be parented to the main controller. Let's give that a different scale. So, main controller. But then, yeah, now we have double translation. So instead, I need to, oh god, transform. No, not transform. I'm not sure if I'm making any sense right now, but my idea is to just invert the rotation. But that shouldn't work, right? No, that's not gonna work. That doesn't make sense. What about the Euler nodes? Rotoid Euler. So this is an Euler. And then I rotate the Euler by another Euler. Right? No. Oh god. Relative mode. Nah, the thing is it's relative to the current object. And that is not rotating at all, so that doesn't really make a difference. It has to be relative to the other empty. So I need to, I mean, that's just math, really. But I don't know if I want to do math right now on stream. In theory, I would just be able to use these kind of nodes. Getting double transforms, yes. I mean, I can also just say whatever and take it as it is. And just hope that I... Wait. Actually, this is kind of interesting. Maybe this controller is not so bad after all. Oh wait, the rotation doesn't even matter here, does it? The rotation is fine, it's the location that I can just offset. That's easier. I can subtract two rotations from each other, locations. So instead of parenting this, I'll just use a constraint. A copy location constraint, because then everything will make sense. So this stays stable, and I can still rotate it. And that's nice. And as soon as I move it, it will break, but that's fine because I can fix it. So where's the wobble controller? Here. And for the, yes, for the location of the wobble controller, I will just subtract this location because that is inherent now. There you go. Ah, crap. I can't move it anymore because of the constraint. Wait. How do I make that work? I want to be able to manually. Can I? This probably, oh God, would be easier if I was a rigger now. But wasn't there like a very illegal child of constraint that you're never supposed to use, that I'm totally going to use now? And it's just going to ignore the rotation. Fantastic. Everything works. I'm confused. Yes, that's the whole point. Everybody's confused. We're having a great time. This is kind of working. That Starfish is vibing here. It's nice. Yeah, I'm relatively happy with what's happening here. It's not ideal, but it's fun. I think now it's actually time to create some more precise controllers for the individual limbs. I mean, then the math is going to be a nightmare, but maybe we can cheat our way around it with some more illegal constraints. I think the child of constraint is the one that that is illegal because it uses an inverse matrix for the parenting, but if the parenting is lost because of some inter-file linking and some dependency getting lost or something, then you have no idea what's going on because the inverse matrix is gone. And it's really, really important to have that inverse matrix. At least that's how I understood the problem. It would be kind of nice to also consider the rotation for this this tech of moving the points along with their distance. I mean, ideally this would be a more complex system altogether, but this should be fine. Maybe I want to tweak the weight as well. Just having it even more smooth like this. Yes. Okay, this is not great, but we just have to try and make it work without that. Okay. Great. So controls for the limbs. Ideally, that's going to be very simple. The only issue I can already see is probably going to be curl controls using sliders. Yes, that was the idea, to actually have the feet kind of curl up a little bit. I'm definitely going to do that, but first I want to be able to move them as well. I hope I don't run out of time before I can make this look a little bit nicer, because it's still very, very simple. But yeah, I want to make the complicated stuff work first. Wait. First, actually, let's... Yeah, let's try and add some controllers. Oh boy, this might be more the biting off more than I can chew. I don't know. We'll see. Just have a controller here. Another one on the other side. And then those just get very small. I do realize that now I'm basically doing manual stuff, but I think that's still in the range of what's reasonable to do in November. Because it's still very unreasonable to do what I'm doing right now. Okay, so head, arm, and I called this one L. I probably should call it R though. Let's rename some stuff to be accurate. Yeah, because I did it like this. Okay, this is gonna be right. Right. And left. Okay, now I'm thinking of doing something. I mean, this is basically just fake lattices. So I need to have like a reference point. Right, so these, let's just try it with parenting again. I think I'm gonna try and just ignore rotation on these. Maybe that's a bad idea. I don't know. I'll try it first though. Okay, so by default this is fine. Alright, I still need to rename these things, so leg right, leg left, and arm left. I think that one thing that will improve the look of the Starfish is scale down the points towards the outside. Oh yeah, just have these be thinner. Yeah, I mean, I had some reference on earlier. I was going to go for something like this to have like the profile of this be less. I mean, just in general, the profile be less round, but more, a little bit more like this. And then also just have it from the center toward along the arm go a little bit more like this. Kind of. But that I can still do. And then there can also be a little bit more detail on the surface. Okay. I'm still not 100% convinced that this is going to work. But we'll make it, we'll see. Again, I can just drag these in. I don't know if multi-selection works with dragging. No, it doesn't. I would have been surprised, actually. So, arm left, arm right, leg left. Yes, leg right, head. Like this. And then, I mean, basically they should be able to all use the same kind of transformation systems, now that I think about it, I can just make it a node group. But yeah, let's just try and make it work with head. Okay. The wobble should probably be a thing that's at the very, very end. Yeah. Yeah, I'll try and make things work without the wobble first, and then try and make it work in the end again. So that was main wobble deformation. Oh god. This might turn out to be a math nightmare in the end. Okay, I'll table this for later, and then just take this. And try and make it work. Okay. So some vector math. Another set position. And then I do the same thing of subtracting the I'm already getting a little bit confused. This should be this is the translated position, which is perfect. So I'll take that. And then I use the current position. Wait. I'm already confusing myself a little bit. Yes, the current position wait. Oh god, this is an endless cycle of being confused. But it's fine. So, maybe I can just make a quick little sketch. This is the point of the empty. And then I have an arm with all sorts of positions. Right. Yes, and then I compare the current transformation of the empty against its resting transformation. And that I just need to save in nodes. So the resting transformation, I mean, in theory I could even I could even do it like very cheekily and just duplicate these as they are. Wait, before I do that, I want to make sure that things still work. Because I have some parameters here, which are right now completely ignored by the rest of the system. Not completely, but by these empties at least. So one thing I kind of want to do is at least keep the proceduralism of connecting this. And I'm going to do that, I think. At this point, I'm getting back the input node and elevating this stuff here to be actual inputs. So inner radius, outer radius, thickness. And then the outer radius is also used here and the thickness is also used here. Nice. And then I hook up a driver from the outer radius. I copy it as a new driver. And then pop in the driver here. So actually, wait. I need to save these values somehow. Let's just make a very stupid value input. And put it in here. And then go back to actually copy this. Alter radius. Copy as new driver. So 2 is the default. So we divide it by 2 and then multiply it with this. Because then it doesn't look right. Did it work? It didn't. Ah, it's not an expression. Let's make it an expression. We take this input, divide it by 2, and multiply it with this. There we go. And then let's just copy that driver, but change the value to be this. Copy driver, paste driver, paste value. Doesn't like the meters. Okay. And now just checking this empty moves along, which is very nice. Okay. So now it's already kind of a nodes plus driver vember, but I personally can live with that. So for this, I just have the same thing, just negative on the x, and then the exact same thing on the y component. Then it's nice and symmetrical. And then here, maybe I should have saved that value. Whatever, we can just pinpoint it again. Kind of like this. And then y and x. And then the same y and the negative x. Brilliant. Okay. Nice. And now my whole point of duplicating this thing. I'll just duplicate all of them and then hide them in a dark corner of the file. And this is going to be my reference points that nobody's gonna know about. And yeah, the whole point of those is they're gonna move the exact same way as the rest of the Starfish, as the rest of the controllers here, because they're parented. But these ones that I can see, I'm gonna use to actually... Wait. No! Did I miss something again? Yes, I did. Crap! Okay, but I think now this is much better at least. I'm going to not just hide these away, but instead parent the ones that I use for controlling to these ones. Because I can't just have them driven, I still need to move them manually. So let's just do this. So we can tell them apart. And then this, I delete the drivers and I parent keeping the transformation. Right? No. How do I? Oh, no. Okay, I delete the drivers. How do I parent it and get the deltas back to being 0? Do I care about that? I don't really. Yeah, sorry. A little bit of a tangent there, but yeah. No, it's fine. I can control these and I still have the reference points. Okay, I do the same thing for the rest. Not this. Okay. So delete the driver, I parent. Delete the drivers and parent. Okay. Now this works as it used to. This I disconnected so it doesn't do anything right now. Later on we can make it work again. And then these need to be made work. So let's actually give these some more accurate names. So these are the refs, or let's call them roots. Yeah, ideally it would be nice to also create this kind of rigging system procedurally, but that's not really a thing yet. So I'll just do a little bit of brute force. And now I can hide them. And then for the head, I also need the head root. Right. And then let's just try and do a very simple, let's just ignore the rotation, but do a very simple location-based deformation. So for that, I'm just going to use this as an offset on the position. And scale it with a mask. Let's just check that it works first. Yeah. Okay. Now we need the mask for the head. And I already created something earlier. I'm not sure this is the exact one I need. Probably not. Kind of. As I said, the rotation doesn't work. But this kind of works. And then I think I already created a couple of masks. I just use this same thing, which is just a mask for the distance to the center. And then I kind of make it work the other way around. So it's no effect on the body itself, but only on the head. Maybe like this. Can still tweak it later. And then I just multiply the masks. Kind of works. Is this an animal? It's a starfish. It's very recognizable. Oh god. Unfortunately, Alt-G doesn't work for this, which is terrifying. Can I somehow apply a location relative to a parent? I haven't really done this sort of stuff. I mean, I guess I can just do this and snap it back, but I'd love to be able to just press Alt-G to reset the location. But yeah, this was relatively simple. I kind of do want to try and make it work with the rotation. But I'm not 100% sure this is going to work out fine. It's definitely going to be more than an offset. You know what? I'm not going to do it. I don't think it's worth it right now. I'll just make this a node group to use it for the other limbs as well. This time it might be worth it to just move on and actually, wrong node. And actually also try and, I thought there was a, oh, there's not. I thought I remembered there was a object input node, but there is not apparently. Can still make this a node group. Okay, let's name these things. This is the controller position. This is the reference controller position. This is the geometry. This was the main mask, and then this is the this was the radius. And this was the limb controller system. And just do the same thing 5 times. Excuse me. So head, arm left root, arm right root. Oh yeah, and then this, yeah, I'll connect these later. Leg left root, leg right root. These. And then this goes in all of them. And then the main mask is going to be different for each. So arm right was here. Arm left, this. Leg right, oh god, it's getting very small. Here. Okay. That's not right. That should be leg left. Okay, what's going wrong here? Was this incorrect? Is this the wrong mask? Let's see. Yep. Okay. Should be an easy fix. So leg left is here. There we go, 2.5. There we go. Okay, now the moment of truth. Will the wobble still wobble? Just unmute these two. It does. I don't think it works necessarily better or worse than it did before. It's probably about the same. And oh god, this just doesn't work though. I feel like I messed this up. I need to do this after, before, I mean. You just switch the order of operation up. So this goes in here. This goes before. And then like this. So this is the limb movement. Then this is the main controller. That's fine. This does the wobble. And it kind of works. And then this just works on top. And I think I'll just change this up so it's less steep of a curve and more like this. Maybe even like this. Kind of. Okay. It's really a shame though that when I reset these, they just end up in the center. What if... I think I will try that. I think I have an idea of how to fix this stuff. I'll go into the driver editor, mute the driver. Then I can reset this thing to 0. Unfortunately, I can't type it in for some reason. 0. Then I reset it. No, I unparent it. And then I parent it. And then I unmute the driver. So Starfish, driver. Why is the driver 0? Okay, undo. I'm not sure why that didn't work. I see arctan2 in the nodes. What is that for? That was a while ago. That's to get a mask dependent on which limb is which. That was here. That's to get... Wait, I'll show it to you. This mask. This one. Dependent on the angle from the center. Yeah, the arctan of x and y component give you the angular component, basically, of the coordinates, which is very useful. Okay, you know what? I'll copy the driver, then I'll delete it, then I'll do my thing, clearing the parent, redoing the parent, and then I paste the driver back. There you go. And now this still works, and if I reset the position, it's gonna be in here. Should have done that from the first in the first place, but it works. Oh, I should in theory just do it on all of them. Now, I just duplicate it, so I don't have to delete the copy the driver. Then I do this, 0, 0. Where did it go? This is reset, clear the parent, redo the parent. And then I copy the drivers back. I wasn't really necessarily expecting to do this kind of manual work for node stuff, but here we are. I can delete this. Delete the drivers, make it 0. Unparent, reset, reparent. Get back the drivers. Actually, I don't need to. Yeah, let's just make this the new parent. Oh no, it doesn't work. Forget about it. That was wrong. Parent. Copy drivers. So how interesting is it to look at these kind of things here? Just redoing the same step over and over. Duplicate. But yeah, you can always just ask questions. Maybe during this sort of work, I just have time to answer some questions instead of having to focus on anything. Because I just redo the same steps. Ah, no, not paste. Oh, yeah, this should already be the last one, so. Spaghetti monster. Does look like a spaghetti monster. Good thing the starfish doesn't have 100 legs. Yes, if it was fully procedural, then that wouldn't be a problem, but unfortunately we don't have such a thing as rigging nodes yet. So we have to make do with some manually copying things around. We're almost done clearing the parent, redoing the parent, and copying the drivers. And we're done. There we go. Now I can just hide the references again, and if I do Alt, R, G, S, whatever, if I reset the controls and everything that I can see, it's still working fine. And that's super valuable. Okay. Now, so curling. I do want to have some curl sliders to curl the geometry. So we can make like little feet here and have the head kind of curl back or something. So let's just do that as the next thing. Let's see. I'll just focus on the head first because that has the most accessible symmetry. It's just on the y-axis. Question is, again, as always, when do we do it? Let's just try it first again, because then we know what the orientation is. Even though that might not work, but we'll see. Okay, so another set position node. It's always a good thing to start with when doing some sort of deformation or displacement. Then vector rotate. Yeah, right. And now the axis to rotate around is just going to be the x-axis. So this. Or I guess I could do this. And then I do still want to make this an offset. So I subtract. Oh. Vector math. I subtract the newly calculated position from the original one. And that's just going to be something like this. Let's just make something very simple so we can see that it works. Scale it with technically just with the same head mask, kind of. Let's just give it the head mask. Still need to make it work afterwards anyways. Okay. This does not look right for some reason. Oh boy. I guess the issue is one of these guys. Even that doesn't look quite right though. This shouldn't happen. Is it also in here? The issue? No. Is this mask ever getting greater than 1 by any chance? Because that might cause an issue. No. Okay, I'm a little bit confused then. Yeah, that's what I expect to happen. Ah, did I do it of course. Yeah. I was thinking of it the correct way, but then I plugged it in the wrong way. You subtract, no. I also said it the wrong way, I think. You subtract the old position from the newly calculated one. Like this. There we go. My bad. And then this is obviously not a curl. The rotation needs to also be scaled up with the distance. And the distance I also had somewhere here. Okay. Let's just use a map range for now. Yeah, that kind of goes in the right direction. Just gotta think a little bit how to make this work properly, because so ideally I would twist this around the center and then just move it back up, right? Let's just see how that looks. I don't want to think about it too long before just trying something out. I'm not sure why it's also going out here. Am I not? Oh yeah, I should probably... Oh, wait, what? I'm clamping it. Ah, right. I'm not using a factor of this on here. Hang on. 1. And then this just gets a math node to multiply it up. So if this is 0, yeah, then this needs to also be scaled up with that factor. That's kind of right. I'm sure I'm missing some sort of more accurate way of doing this. But this is kind of working out, so... whatever. Okay, so now this parameter is just for like strength of twisting it. Oh god, it's kind of freaking out. Yeah, it shouldn't be pushed beyond a certain limit for sure. But it would be nice to be able to kind of curl it a little bit more. I mean, this is cheating it quite a lot. You know what? I'm gonna try and just keep it like this. I just add a value input for the twist. Or roll. Oh, that's relatively nice. And then we just do the same thing for all of them. So this was for the head. Just make it a group. So the inputs here were the main mask and the radius. And then I want to expose the roll separately. As this. Okay. And then I do the same thing a couple of times. Oh yeah, and I need to control the axis and the center. Yeah, that's gonna be a little bit more difficult. For the axis, I want to have a little bit more of an easier control of doing this. So instead of just exposing it as it is, I will just do a vector rotate around the z-axis. And then, yeah, the default is just gonna be the x-axis. Don't want to hide the value. And, no. Damn it, I don't expose it. Just delete this again. And then I can just control the angle instead. So this is the angle of the axis that I'm using. And then I expose the center as well. Or actually, I don't even need to. If I know the angle, I can just do the same thing for the center as well. I just rotate the center with that same angle. Put it in here. All right. Okay, maybe I'll just crank up the roll values to see if it's working to like 1. And then I go 1 by 1. So arm right. This is going to be the same for all of them. And And then I'll just grab this a little bit closer so you see what's going on. Arm right, arm left, leg right, leg left. And then for the angles, the head. Yeah, just to remember, this is the head. This was, what was it? Arm right. Arm left. Nah. Leg right. Leg left. Okay, now the right angles. So for arm right, wait, is it even doing anything right now? In theory, this should already do something, right? Did I mess something up again? Oh yeah, I forgot to add the input here. So this is the x-axis. There we go. Now, this doesn't work, but I need to fix the angles, so 360 by 5. Is this correct? Arm right. Yeah, should be right. I'm not 100% sure why it looks so different though. It should basically look the same as here, because the roll is the same. I'll just continue with the other ones to see. So this is negative. Is 360 by 5 just 72? Is that correct? Oh yeah. Right. Should be fine. I'm just going sure. Yeah. And then, because 360 times 2 is 720. That makes sense. But we're not here to do math. The math should be done for us. Okay, so this is obviously not correct. And it should be due to the center. I'm not connecting the angle. That can't work then. Much better. Okay. Now we have something interesting. There's a roll for each one. And actually maybe these I could just hook up to the rotation, because I haven't been using the rotation of these controllers anyways. But I'm also not 100% set on how I want to control this whole thing anymore. Yeah, but let's just make it work with the rest. So I'll re-enable this, and this will probably break how this works. I probably have to do this. And it's probably still not going to work, but we'll see. Okay, so that works. This is still disabled. Oh, no, it's not. Wait. It does something. Okay, but that immediately shows that it's not working properly. Well, that's fine. We can just... Yeah, let's try that. So instead... Instead of simply using this position here... Okay, this is going to be a little bit messy, I think. But instead of just using this position, I'm going to capture the new position right after the rolling, but before the transformation with the main controller. So I plug that in there. And that's the position. Still disabled? Yeah. Beautiful. Okay. This is actually not too bad. It's still doing the weird tapering, which I'm not all that happy about. I'm thinking of maybe trying some... I don't know. This seems a little bit too difficult for this session at least. Maybe even for what geometry nodes can do at this point. I don't know. I'm sure in the future there's going to be a much easier way to do all of this stuff anyways. Especially when there's stuff like simulations. Stuff like surface deform as well. Geometry caching and that kind of stuff. But for now, we do it the hard way. What's this? Okay. So we captured the new position, then we use it for the deformation fix. This is unnecessary. And there we go. So this is the main control. This is the drag with the secondary wobble control, and then this is the fix of the deformation. And this is in the very end, and this is the control with the manual controls here, which don't have a rotation, unfortunately, but that's just how it is. And I think that's about everything I'm going to do in terms of rigging this Starfish. Because I'm getting to the point where it's going to be very painful if I try to do any more fancy things, I think. One thing that I've been thinking of that I could still do, which is not really a rigging thing, but more of a geometry nodes tech thing, would be to like shrink wrap the feet to the ground, or do something like a fake IK. Maybe not. The shrink wrap might be a nice idea. But yeah. In the end, it might be nice to just animate this a little bit, or mostly just add procedural animation to this. That would also be fine, with just a bunch of noise. I just got here. Is this a starfish? You see it correctly, yes. It's a beautiful and bold starfish. Now, I think is the time to go back like 20 steps. Call this rig fine for now. Not quite done, but fine. And focus a little bit back on the geometry of this starfish to make it look a little bit nicer. Because the tech should work for now, no matter what the exact shape. Oh yeah, wait, one thing I want to try out, which is, that's not going to work, unfortunately. Excuse me. I wanted to try and change, where is it? The exposed outer radius. And look at that. Kinda works. I mean, it does work. The roll is just not what it used to be, but it's just how it is, I guess. The rest kind of works. So yeah, you can call this thing procedural, I think. Okay. Select everything, reset everything. Set this back to 2 because it was a bit nicer. That's kind of cute. Starfish is trying to hug you, yes. Welcome its embrace. Okay. Shape. Reset the roll to 0. Maybe I can also just shape this a little bit differently so it doesn't take as much space, or actually I think it's a bad idea. It just makes it look even more confusing and entangled. Right. So I mentioned before I wanted to change the shape of the starfish a little bit. I want to make kind of a more flat back and a little bit more round top. Then make the arms a little bit thinner to the edges, and just change the overall profile a little bit more. And then maybe even add some more resolution and add some detail in terms of like tiny little spikes or something. So let's see. I'm probably just gonna do everything for that in here. Or actually, I think it might be good to do it outside in the second step. The base is not really going to change, so I'm just going to call this Starfish base. And that's totally fine. I will expose the voxel amount because that's the resolution that we can still change later on. Just take a look at the wireframe. Like this. But yeah, for now, let's just take this as it is and create more masks. Or actually, I mean, in terms of mask, I already kind of have what I need. Let's just go straight to setting the position to what it's supposed to be for the shaping. Take the position. And actually yeah, one thing that I already want to think of because forget it afterwards. After I do the deformations that I do now, I still want these coordinates to be accurate to what they are at that point, so I capture them for the remaining node tree. Or, yeah, I capture the position. Because this is still before all of the deformations from the rig and whatever. Yeah, the ends of the arms are going to be relatively thin. Okay. Now. Oh, that was a misclick. I take a separate XYZ to just separate the components and then use the coordinates as I get them. And actually I'm gonna grab the viewer because I want to take a look at the masks I'm using them. These are kind of getting into the way. Let's just get rid of them here. And also I'm getting a little bit triggered by all these curved connections. I usually have them off. So let me just do this very quickly in here. There you go. Now everything is nice and linear. You can see what's going on. Okay. So here the thickness is going to be important again, because the thickness is basically the height by half. And because of that, we can use a map range nodes using the thickness as the from max and the negative thickness as the from min. There you go. As the oh, wrong input. To get a map that goes from 0 to 1 from all the way to the back to the front, no matter how thick the starfish actually is. Some named attributes. Named attributes? Oh, I mean... Okay, I see what you mean. Yeah. I can see that helping. I mean, yeah. The idea of having these kind of portal nodes where you can store something and then read it out later can work without names as well, but yeah, just having names in the first place might be nice. Okay. And then I can use that. Did I change this? No. Oh, this could even be an attribute. How would that work? Probably not. But yeah, I use this to scale the position. Vector math. Happens all the time. Vector math. There we go. Combine XYZ. Okay, what I want to do is I want to control the top profile and the bottom profile separately, I think. Yes. Oh. That was a mistake. And for that, I should probably actually not use it as I do right now, but rather have two map range nodes where one goes from 0 to negative and one goes from 0 to positive thickness. And then the negative one, which is this, is going to be the bottom profile, which I want to have more like this. I'll also change it later on, but we'll see. And then the top profile is going to be more like this. Let's see. But yeah, this I'm just going to use to scale the offset, which is just going to be the bear with me here. I have an idea in my head. It's just not very easy to verbalize this, but you'll see. So I use the current position, but only the Z components, and then I invert that. Or actually, it's negative one in there, and then I scale that. And then I do the same thing. Wait. Let's take a look at the masks, so I'm actually sure of what's happening. So this is the negative mask, and it's 0 at the top, so it's going to be scaled by... yeah, it's going to be scaled by 1. That's not good. Yeah, so this should only really affect those that are actually below 0. So let's take another math node and just multiply this with a check of this greater than 0. There we go. And now it's only affecting the bottom side. And we have nice control over how this looks in the profile with this curve. Right? Yeah, kind of. And then we just do the exact same thing for the top side. We do the check if this is greater than 0, and then multiply this curve with that and scale it and use it as the offset. So this is kind of the profile on the edge. And now I also want to be able to, or actually, I'm not super happy with the curvature of this. Would kind of like to be able to do this a little bit differently. I have some ideas. So one thing that I'm thinking of to get my whole point right now is that I want to have a nicer gradient that goes from the edge. Oh, can't see it. from the edge. Let's turn off the wireframe. Towards the center. In between here. And one thing I'm thinking of is using the proximity. And another thing is to use, I mean, you can also just use mass, but I don't really want to do that. And for proximity, one idea would be, let's just try that. Proximity is more fun. It's the stuff we can't do in shader nodes. So let's do it. For the proximity, I will need the coordinates, do some vector math, and then delete geometry. Based on this. Right. Absolute greater than, and then delete. Let's see. Nothing's left. That's great. Wait. Ah, this is the X. Oh, also I'm not plugging not plugging anything into the input. That can't work. Okay, and then we have just the outermost edge of this starfish, which is going to be very useful. This is actually quite nice. And then I can use the proximity to that. Use that as a target. And then I can use that as a mask. And what I want to replace... What do I want to replace? Basically this thing. Or rather... hang on. I need to change this around. So this is checking for the Z being less than 0. And this is for greater than 0, basically. And then I want to get rid of these things. Right. Okay, it's very confusing right now, I'm sorry. But then I can use this proximity. Let's just take a look at the viewer. This has to be the viewer. Oh, right. It's just a field. We actually need to look at the output. And wait. I capture... Yeah, I just captured the proximity on here. And then we look at that. What did I do wrong? So I'm taking this. Ah, it's on faces. That can't work. Gotta take the proximity to the edges. And now we have a nicer gradient already. Yes. Like this. And I think I'm just gonna keep it at that actually. This is already all the gradient I need. I just need to somehow make sure that I can actually normalize this in a way that makes sense. So instead of multiplying it like this, I'm just going to divide. And for division, let's use the thickness like times 2 or something, because that's going to give us... It's not accurate, but that's going to give us a little bit of leeway. How are you able to predict how nodes will behave so well? Do you visualize it? It's from experience. I mean, I go through it in my head, and if at some point I don't know what to expect, I just try it out. And then once in a while you also have to check if what you have in your head, obviously, if it works or not. But yeah, it's mostly just experience, I think. Okay. Now, this is the mask. Yeah, let's just get more space. It's gonna be a very long node tree. But yeah, this I can now use to replace these two. Right. Yeah. Now this was the backside. Yeah, this gives a little bit of a nicer result, a little bit smoother as well. You can create all sorts of patterns in here. And then this was the top side. It's a bit smoother than it was before. Or actually, now that I think about it, it might be nice to, instead of what I set up here before, just do it a little bit differently. I'm just gonna save so I can go back to it if I need to. But instead of using the actual position, I think I'm just going to just directly set the Y component manually. Not manually, but with my result. And this is just going to be used as a mask directly. I don't multiply anything. And then separate. And that's the position. Right, so I just take X and Y, and Z I completely replace, essentially. And then this I need to just invert. And I multiply it with the thickness, which was somewhere back here. There you go. Okay, now let's just delete, or actually I need to check if it actually works. Oh yeah, I used this as an offset. That doesn't make sense. And then I do the same thing here. I'll clean it up after. Right now it's very busy. But let's just first see if it works at all. Kind of. But this does need to be inverted. -1. There you go. I think I like this better. Now I have much more precise control over what's actually going on. So this is going to be the bottom side profile. This is the top side profile. Now let's go ahead and delete the nodes that are redundant. Or actually, let's just do it. Press Alt-X, delete unused node. There you go. This was the selections for the masks. And then bottom side. I wanna replace these two operation steps. I really like when you can kind of visually represent in the node tree what is going on in terms of having the top side profile at the top of the node tree as well, because it makes sense. Okay, because here this gets plugged back into the position and we're good to go. Oh. Yeah, now we have much more precise control over what's actually going on in here. I like this better. Okay. Oh, what happened to the eyes? Maybe I shouldn't do this stuff to the eyeballs. Actually, maybe I'll just remove the eyeballs for now. Okay. Let's crank up the resolution a little bit. Smoothing is really carrying this topology here. Maybe I need a little bit more points that are distributed. That doesn't really help that much. Okay, looking at it like this, I'll admit it doesn't look like the most exciting starfish. But not all starfish can dance. Wait. Wait. Like this one can. Hang on. Very nice. Yeah, I think I might want to actually hook up the curl sliders to the rotation here. And for that, I think no. I'll just constrain the rotation on X and Y and then make some drivers. This is really the easiest thing to do. So for the head, let's copy this as a driver, paste it in here, and let's see if it works. Oh, it's the wrong input here. That works. Copy this new driver, and that should be the left arm. right? Yeah. And then right leg. And left leg. Wonderful. The curling is not really working all that well together with the wobble mechanics. It's not so bad. Yeah, I mean, I'll have to think about how I can actually make this a nice animation. I was hoping to do a little bit more animation of like a walk cycle kind of a thing, or just having the starfish get up or something, like wobble around a little bit. I'll have to see what I can just make work additionally to this. But, well, we have a procedural starfish rig that's also not so bad. I mean, not too many things are actually procedural about it. There's... The thickness does work though. It does get a lot thicker. It's a very thick starfish here. The controls still work and everything. Okay, maybe the thickness is a little bit too much. Just want to stress test this a little bit. Let's try the individual origins. That's quite nice. Yeah, I mean, the controls work. And I still think that this is kind of cool. Yeah, so that's a little bit of a show off of what we did achieve. It's not the most amazing animation. Well, it's not an animation at all, but maybe I can just make one very quickly later. But yeah, in terms of the stream, that's the starfish rig that I could make with nodes. It was more of an experiment of seeing, okay, can this actually work, kind of, with what we have in geometry nodes, even though it's not really supposed to work that way. But it's a fun experiment nonetheless. And it did get somewhere. I still didn't really expect this to work as well as it did. So that's nice. Yeah, I hope it was still also interesting to look at, just to see this mess expand. And yeah, the node tree did end up relatively large as well. But yeah, that's just what you get. Okay, I'm gonna end the stream there. Hope you had some fun. And see you in a couple of days for the next one. Bye-bye.